My name is Kara Ellison, and I'm 29 years old. When this all really started, I was 18 and holding a black trash bag on my birthday. If you'd told that girl with the trash bag that one day her dad would show up on her porch, sobbing and begging for money, I don't think she would have believed you. Back then, I still thought the worst thing a parent could do was forget to show up. I hadn't seen the advanced techniques yet, like weaponizing family as an excuse for cruelty. All right, Internet, here's the story. My father kicked me out at 18 for not being the golden child. I slept in my truck, showered at Planet Fitness, and clawed my way into a job climbing 300-foot wind turbines. 11 years later, my little sister stood up at her own rehearsal dinner, called another man her real dad, and detonated her whole life in one speech. Now my father is the one begging for money, for forgiveness, for anything. Grab some popcorn. The last time I lived in that house, the air always smelled faintly like Ashley's perfume and my dad's expectations. Tom, my father, made it clear who mattered long before the day he kicked me out. Ashley, my younger sister, got the sunshine. I got whatever was left after the clouds cleared. Ashley got the car at 16. A nice used Honda Civic Tom spent weeks hunting for, bragging about how he'd negotiated the price like he was closing a corporate deal. Only the best for my girl, he said, patting the hood while Ashley squealed and hugged him. When I turned 16, I got a speech about responsibility and, you'll figure it out. So I did. I bought a beat-up truck for $800 off Craigslist. The AC didn't work, it leaked oil like it was crying, and the driver's side window only rolled down halfway, but it was mine. That truck would become my first bedroom after he threw me out. At the time, I didn't know I was test driving my future. Ashley got college, fully funded, University of Oklahoma, sorority dues, a nice apartment with a pool and a fitness center. Tom bragged at family gatherings about how he'd planned ahead to give his daughter the best start in life. When I asked about college money, he didn't look up from his beer. Community college is perfectly respectable, Kara. You should be grateful you have a roof over your head. So I worked, bagged groceries at Homeland, clocked out smelling like produce and cardboard. I saved what I could, applied for scholarships, stared at FAFSA forms until the numbers blurred. In that house, even space told the story. Ashley had her own room with an attached bathroom. There were fairy lights strung around her bed, pictures pinned to a corkboard, trophies lined up on a shelf. I shared a bedroom with storage boxes and old furniture until I was 15. Then I got upgraded to the converted garage. No heat in winter, no AC in summer. Concrete floor, drafty door. Tom said it built character. Ashley's achievements hung in matching black frames along the hallway, honor roll certificates, cheerleading photos, academic awards. Every time you walked to the kitchen, you were reminded of who the star was. My stuff, track meet ribbons, a certificate for making varsity wrestling, went into a drawer somewhere. I only know because I found them once, curling at the edges. Dad missed every single one of my wrestling matches junior year. He was busy. He never missed Ashley's volleyball games. Mom saw all of this. She watched the way I got used to being an afterthought. She just stayed quiet, played the smiling wife, the perfect hostess. When I tried to talk to her, she'd say, "Your father has his reasons. Just try to get along, honey." After a while, I stopped trying. Senior year, I got accepted to Oklahoma State University with a partial scholarship, mechanical engineering. It wasn't a full ride, but it was real. I did the math. I'd need about $15,000 a year in loans to make it work. I walked into the living room holding the letter. Tom was watching TV. Ashley was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "Dad," I said, my voice shaking a little, "I got in, to OSU. Engineering. They gave me a scholarship." He took the letter, skimmed it for maybe 5 seconds. "That's a lot of debt," he said flatly. "For a degree you'll probably drop out of anyway. Start at community college. Prove you're serious." Ashley didn't even look up. She already had a dad who believed in her. She didn't understand what it felt like to stand there with your future in your father's hands and watch him shrug. That was the moment I knew it didn't matter what I did. I could be perfect and it would still be wrong. I wasn't Ashley. The final blow came 3 months before graduation. By then, I was working doubles at Homeland and an extra shift at a ramen place, saving everything I could. I had about $4,000 in my account, my lifeline for school, my proof that I could handle adult responsibilities. I came home one Saturday, exhausted, smelling like broth and dishwater, and found Tom in the garage, my room, holding my laptop. "Hey," I said slowly, "what are you doing?" He didn't answer, just looked around like he was appraising property. "You're not going to need this where you're going," he finally said, lifting the laptop slightly. My stomach dropped. "What?" "I've decided you need real-world experience," he said. "You're 18 in 2 weeks. After graduation, you're moving out. Time to be an adult." I stared at him. My ears were ringing. "You're kicking me out?" "I'm giving you independence, he said, like he was offering a promotion. "You think you're ready for college? Prove it. Get a job, get an apartment, pay your bills. Then maybe we'll talk about helping with school." Behind him, in the doorway, Ashley walked past. She saw his stance, my face, the laptop in his hand. She smirked, actually smirked, and kept walking. Like watching me get gutted was entertainment. I looked past Tom to the kitchen. Mom stood there in the doorway, her hand resting on the frame. Her eyes were on the floor. "Mom?" I said. She didn't look up, didn't say anything, just turned and walked away. That hurt more than the trash bag. 2 weeks later, my 18th birthday, Tom handed me that bag. "You've got an hour," he said. "Pack what you need." I shoved in clothes, my wrestling medals no one ever hung up, a few photos, the laptop he'd decided I could keep after all, like he was being generous. I walked down the hallway for the last time. Ashley wasn't there. She was at a friend's house, which I'm sure wasn't a coincidence. Mom was in her bedroom with the door closed. I knocked. "Mom, I'm leaving." Silence. "Mom, please." Nothing. I left. I threw the trash bag into the back of my old truck, climbed into the driver's seat, and pulled away from the house I'd grown up in. No one came out to watch me go. Planet Fitness parking lots are surprisingly quiet at night. I parked under a streetlight, reclined the seat, and stared at the faint purple glow of the gym sign. People went in and out with duffel bags and earbuds, and none of them knew the girl in the dented truck was technically homeless. For 2 weeks, that truck was my bedroom. I showered at the gym, ate cheap ramen and dollar menu burgers, and pretended this was temporary. A weird phase, a story I'd laugh about someday. Then I found a terrible studio apartment in South Oklahoma City for $400 a month. The carpet was older than me. The neighbors shouted at each other through the vents, and the bathroom door didn't close all the way. But it had 4 walls and a lock that was mine. I picked up more hours at Homeland and the ramen shop, worked 60-hour weeks. Some nights I'd sit in my truck on my break and do the math. $8 an hour bagging groceries now versus 38 grand a year. If I could get into some kind of trade program, anything that paid more than minimum wage. I still had that acceptance letter to OSU folded in a drawer, but college felt like a luxury for girls whose dads didn't hand them trash bags on their birthdays. One night at the gym, I saw a flyer tacked to the bulletin board near the water fountain. Wind turbine technician certification. Oklahoma State Tech, Okmulgee. 6 weeks of training. Electrical systems, hydraulics, mechanical troubleshooting. Industry placement on completion. I stared at it for a long time, sweat drying on my skin. 6 weeks, a path to real money, something I could climb. I took a picture of the flyer with my cracked phone. 2 months later, I was standing at the base of a 300-foot ladder, harness clipped, chest pounding, learning how not to panic when the ground drops away beneath you. Up there, with nothing but the wind and the humming machinery, there was no Ashley, no Tom, no house where my picture never made the hallway. There was just me, the steel under my boots, and the knowledge that if I fell, it was my own mistake, not some decision my father made in a bad mood. I told myself I was done with them, done caring, done wanting anything from people who'd handed me a trash bag instead of a chance. I thought if I climbed high enough, the past would stay small. I was wrong, of course, but I wouldn't find that out until 11 years later at a restaurant called Sage, where my sister would pick up a microphone and set our whole family on fire. I've been doing this work since I was 18. Right after I finished that 6-week wind turbine technician certification at Oklahoma State Tech in Okmulgee, they hired me on as an apprentice. We learned electrical systems, hydraulics, how to troubleshoot mechanical failures at the top of a ladder that felt like it went straight into the sky. The first time I climbed a turbine, I thought I was going to pass out halfway up. "Don't look down," my instructor yelled up. So I looked down. The trucks were toy-sized. The fields looked like a patchwork quilt. The wind shoved at my body, testing my balance, my resolve, everything. I kept going, because going back down felt more humiliating than fear. I started at 38 grand a year, driving out from Oklahoma City to Wind Farms 2 hours west on I-40 near Weatherford and Woodward. Flat plains, endless sky, turbines spinning like giant three-blade fans printing money. At first, I thought I'd just survive it, get through my shifts, stash cash, maybe figure out something else later. But somewhere between year 1 and year 3, I realized I loved it. There's a piece you only find 300 feet in the air, clipped into steel, with the horizon circling you like an ocean. Up there, the pass can't climb. It's just you, the hum of the generator, and the wind trying to knock the thoughts out of your head. On the ground, I was the girl who slept in her truck, the daughter who got handed a trash bag. Up there, I was the senior tech who could diagnose a pitch error by the sound of the blades. By 29, I serviced about 40 turbines on rotation. I knew which ones creaked in the winter, which ones complained in the heat, which ones always threw a fault code at the worst possible time. The pay was solid now, 82 grand base plus overtime. Some weeks, my overtime checks alone hit 2,000. I had health insurance, a retirement plan, a company truck for site visits. I had an apartment that didn't smell like mold and regret. Not bad for the girl who did the math on $8 shifts and cheap ramen in a Planet Fitness parking lot. People talk about making it out, like there's some finish line. Like once you cross it, the past stops existing. But the past doesn't disappear. It just gets quieter until something turns the volume back up. For me, that something was an unknown number lighting up my phone while I drove back from a job site near Weatherford. The sun was sinking behind the turbines, turning the blades into black silhouettes against a burning sky. I had the radio on low, the cab of the truck full of the smell of dust and motor oil. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. 11 years of ignoring anything that even felt like my old life had turned into a reflex. But something, maybe curiosity, maybe masochism, made me tap accept and put it on speaker. Hello? There was a pause, then a voice I hadn't heard since the day she didn't open her bedroom door. Kara, it's your mother. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. My hand actually twitched toward the end call button on the screen. I could have hung up. I should have. I didn't. What do you want? I asked, my voice flatter than I felt. I know we haven't spoken in 11 years, she said quietly. I know I don't deserve to call you, but I need to tell you something. The highway hummed under my tires. A semi roared past in the other lane. I didn't say anything. I just drove and listened to her breathe. I'm divorcing your father, she said. That got my attention. I signaled, pulled onto the shoulder, and put on my hazards. The turbines stood out in the distance like giant metronomes, counting off the seconds. You're what? I said. I filed last week, she said. I'm done, Kara. I've been unhappy for years. Longer than that, really. Since before you left. Her voice wobbled. Maybe since before you were born. Tom is controlling, dismissive, cruel. I can't do it anymore. I stared out at the fields. A tumbleweed bumped against the guardrail and rolled away. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I wanted you to hear it from me, she said. And because... She paused, and I could hear her swallow. Because Ashley's getting married in 2 months. There's a rehearsal dinner next Friday. I wanted to invite you. I laughed once. No humor in it. Why would I come to that? Because despite everything, she said, you're still my daughter. And maybe I'm selfish for asking. I know this is a lot. Her tone shifted, something darker creeping in. Not joy, not relief. Almost like she was offering me a front row seat to a train wreck. Your father will be there, she added. And so will Henry. That's the man I've been seeing. Ashley invited him. She's been spending time with us, getting to know him. Your father is... Another pause. Your father is not handling any of this well. Good, I thought. Then immediately hated myself for it. I should have said no. I should have hung up, driven home, and gone back to my life where they might as well have been ghosts. I'll think about it, I said instead. That's more than I deserve, she whispered. Thank you, Kara. She gave me the details. The restaurant name, the time, the date. I found a crumpled gas station receipt in my glove box and wrote them down. When the call ended, I sat there for 20 minutes, engine off, watching the sky go from gold to purple. Turbines turned slowly on the horizon like they were nodding to some silent beat. Noah was cooking when I got home. Stir fry, the quick kind we ate when both of us were wiped out. The apartment smelled like garlic and ginger and the faint scent of his shampoo. He glanced over his shoulder as I shut the door. How'd it go out there? He asked. Any divas on the line today? Just one gearbox that hates me, I said automatically. He smiled, then frowned. What's wrong? I kicked off my boots, dropped my bag, and leaned against the counter. My mom called, I said. The spatula slipped out of his hand and clattered against the stove. What? She's divorcing Tom, filed last week. I watched his face. And Ashley's getting married. There's a rehearsal dinner next Friday. She invited me. Noah stared at me like I'd just said the turbines had sprouted legs. Are you serious? He said. Apparently I'm still her daughter, I said. Who knew? What did you say? I said I'd think about it. He studied me for a long moment, the sizzling pan forgotten. Okay, he said finally, but if you go, I'm going with you. You're not walking into that alone. You don't have to, I said automatically. The reflex to protect him from my mess was almost as strong as the reflex to run. He stepped closer, resting his hands on the counter on either side of me, caging me in gently. Kara, he said quietly, your dad kicked you out with a trash bag. Your sister sat there and watched. Your mom locked herself in a bedroom. If you walk into a room with all of them again, I'm going to be there. That's not negotiable. Something in my chest loosened and hurt all at once. Are you sure? I asked. No, he said honestly, but I don't need to be sure. I just need to be there. He kissed my forehead, then turned back to the stove, rescuing the vegetables from burning. I watched him move around our tiny kitchen like he belonged there, which he did. Our plates were mismatched, our table was secondhand, but nothing in that apartment had ever been thrown at me like punishment. I could have said no to Mom, no to Ashley, no to all of it. But there was a part of me, the 18-year-old with the trash bag, the 21-year-old crying in a gym shower, the 25-year-old hanging from a turbine in the middle of nowhere, that wanted to see them see me. Not because I needed their approval, because I wanted them to know I'd built a life without them, because I wanted to stand in the same room and feel nothing. I told myself that was what it would be. A test. One evening. One dinner. Proof that they couldn't hurt me anymore. I had no idea just how wrong I was, or how thoroughly my sister would blow up her own life in front of 60 witnesses and a plated entree. Sage was one of those upscale restaurants with white tablecloths, dim golden lighting, and waiters who glide instead of walk. The kind of place where everyone pretends to be genteel while quietly judging each other's shoes. There were about 60 people there, wedding party, extended family, friends, and enough perfume in the air to suffocate a horse. Noah and I walked in fashionably late, partly because of traffic and partly because I needed the extra 5 minutes in the car to steady my breathing. The moment we stepped inside, I scanned the room instinctively. My dad, Tom, was at a back table with his brother Mike and a couple of cousins. I hadn't seen him in 11 years, but I recognized him instantly. He'd aged like milk. He looked smaller, sunken around the eyes, thinner than a man his age should have been. His clothes were good quality but hung wrong on him, like they belonged to a healthier version of himself. Mom was near the front with a man who had to be Henry. She looked radiant. New haircut, classy navy dress, soft makeup. She looked like a woman who had finally exhaled after years of holding her breath. Henry was mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, tailored suit, the easy confidence of someone who actually liked his life. The contrast between them and Tom was brutal. Ashley stood near the refreshment table with her bridesmaids. Designer dress, perfect hair, laughing too loudly. She looked like she was starring in her own movie. Her fiancé, Chris, stood beside her, stiff and deeply uncomfortable. Even from across the room, something about the way he shifted his weight told me he knew he'd made a mistake. Tom saw me first. His face went through a time-lapse of emotions. Shock, hope, fear, guilt, resignation? I gave him a single nod. Nothing more. Mom noticed me next. Her eyes immediately filled with tears. She started to rise, then froze, reconsidered, and sat back down. She nodded, small and trembling. Ashley didn't even notice us come in, too busy being adored. Noah and I found seats near the middle of the room, close enough to see everything, far enough to avoid being trapped in anyone's emotional blast zone. The rehearsal dinner began politely enough. Chris's parents gave speeches about love, commitment, and welcoming Ashley into their family. They looked proud, hopeful, unaware they were minutes away from witnessing the crash of the century. Then Ashley stood up, taking the microphone with the confidence of a pageant queen accepting a crown. "Hi, everyone," she chirped. "I want to thank you all for being here. It means so much to me and Chris." Her voice was bright and sugary, the exact tone she used when she knew she was about to do something dramatic. This week has been wild, she continued, laughing softly. But we got through it, thanks to the people who really showed up. She gestured to her bridesmaids, who cheered obnoxiously on cue. And especially thanks to someone who has gone above and beyond these last few weeks. Her eyes locked onto Henry. Every conversation in the room shuddered to a stop. Henry has been an absolute godsend, she said, voice syrupy sweet. He helped us negotiate better rates at the venue, offered to contribute to the catering, and has been more supportive than some people who are supposed to be family. There it was, the first strike. Confused whispers fluttered around the room. Henry shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Mom like he wanted to disappear. Ashley kept going. Henry, she said, smiling like a shark, you've shown Mom what it means to be valued and appreciated. You've shown me and Chris what generosity looks like. Then she turned, stared directly at Tom. Honestly, you've been more of a real father to me these past few weeks than my actual father has been in years. Someone gasped. A fork clattered onto a plate. Tom went paler than the tablecloth. Henry stood abruptly, whispering, Ashley, that's not appropriate. No, it is, Ashley insisted, still smiling. Some people give everything to their kids. Some give nothing and still expect gratitude. The room was dead silent. Then Ashley delivered the final blow. And that's why I've asked Henry to walk me down the aisle on Saturday. Silence. Thick, suffocating, absolute. You could have heard a diamond earring hit the floor. Chris's parents looked horrified. His mother's hand flew to her chest. His father muttered something under his breath that looked suspiciously like, oh, hell no. Chris himself looked like someone had just unplugged him. Henry tried again. Ashley, sweetheart, this isn't... It's exactly the right time, she snapped. Everyone should know who really stepped up. Ashley sat down with a satisfied little smirk, as though she'd solved world hunger. Tom didn't move. Not a flinch, not a blink. Just stared at the table, destroyed. Mom looked mortified. She clearly hadn't known. Noah leaned close to me and whispered, holy shit. Welcome to my family, I murmured. But even I hadn't expected that. An hour later, the dinner ended early. People bailed like rats off a sinking ship. Chris's parents left in a hurry. His mother was crying in the parking lot. His father looked like he was contemplating calling the whole wedding off himself. We stepped outside for air. Noah squeezed my hand, grounding me. That's when I saw Chris near the back of the building, pacing, running a hand through his hair. He looked up, startled. Oh, you're Kara, right? Ashley's sister? Unfortunately, I said. A short, humorless laugh escaped him. Your sister, he said quietly, just humiliated her own father in front of 60 people. I nodded. She's always been entitled, he said. But this was cruel. I said nothing. He didn't need my commentary. Reality was doing all the work. I don't know if I can marry someone who'd do that, he admitted. I mean, if she can do that to her own dad, what happens when she decides I'm not good enough? What are you going to do? I asked. He looked toward the restaurant doors, jaw tight. I think I need to really think about this. Good luck, I said simply. He nodded and walked away. I had a feeling his thinking wouldn't take long. When Noah and I went back inside to grab our coats, we passed Ashley arguing with Mom near the coat rack. You said it was fine to thank Henry, Ashley hissed. I said thank him for helping, not call him your real father, Mom snapped, voice shaking. That was cruel, Ashley. Tom didn't deserve that. Not like that. Oh, now you care about Dad's feelings? You left him, Ashley threw back. I left because he treated me badly for 30 years. That doesn't mean you get to torture him publicly, Mom whisper shouted. Ashley rolled her eyes. Whatever. Henry already said yes. That's not the point, Mom insisted. Ashley spun on her heel and walked away, leaving Mom standing small and shaken. I didn't intervene. I didn't feel sorry for either of them. Not yet. Noah and I walked out into the crisp night air. He opened my car door, but before I got in, he touched my arm. You doing okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. I think so. That was the most toxic thing I've ever seen, he added softly. I gave a hollow laugh. Welcome to my origin story. He pulled me in, held me against his chest while wedding guests shouted quietly into phones, and Chris's parents drove away like their car was on fire. I let him hold me for a long moment, because I knew we had only witnessed the first explosion. The next morning, the fallout would begin. The next morning at 9:12 a.m., my phone lit up with a notification from an unknown number. I ignored it. At 9:14 a.m. it rang. At 9:16 a.m. it rang again. At 9:18 a.m. it rang a third time. By the 18th call, I finally answered just to stop the damn noise. What? On the other end, Ashley was ugly crying, the kind of wet, choking sob that comes from shock, not regret. Chris called off the wedding, she wailed. He said he can't marry someone who humiliated their own father. He said I was cruel and entitled and he left. Okay, I said. That's all you have to say? She screeched. What do you want me to say? I asked, leaning back in bed as Noah handed me coffee, eyebrows raised. You publicly declared a man you've known for 2 months as your real dad, I said. In front of Chris's parents. In front of everyone. Chris didn't leave because of me. He left because you detonated your own life. You're lying, she snapped. Chris said he talked to you outside. He asked me if you've always been this entitled, I said. I told him the truth. You told him to break up with me. I know you did. No, I said. He made his own decision based on watching you behave like you. Silence, then a shriek. I hate you. You've always been jealous of me. This is your fault. And she hung up. I stared at the phone, took a sip of Noah's coffee. Charming as ever, I muttered. Noah rubbed my shoulder. That poor man dodged a missile. Within 48 hours, Ashley's world collapsed like a badly built card tower. The venue kept their $18,000 deposit. The caterer kept $7,000. The florist kept $4,000. The photographer kept $3,500. By Monday, Chris had moved out of their shared apartment, and Ashley realized, too late, that she couldn't afford it alone on her receptionist's salary. Turns out being the golden child of a father with a savior complex didn't translate into financial stability. Dad, Tom, had been covering the difference in her rent for years. Chris had covered the rest. Ashley herself made about $35,000 a year. Her entire life had been subsidized by men. And now every man in her life had vanished within 72 hours. Except Henry, who had no interest in stepping into the father ATM role she clearly expected. I didn't hear from her again for a week. Then Uncle Mike called. Kara, he said, you need to hear this. His voice was grim, the tone people use when they've witnessed a train wreck and aren't sure whether to describe it or call a therapist first. Your father and Ashley had it out, he said. Real bad. I didn't speak, just listened. Apparently, Ashley had shown up at Tom's apartment expecting hospitality, forgiveness, and a rent-free room like the good old days. Instead, she found a man sitting in the ruins of a marriage and a failed life, barely holding himself together. She started with the usual, accusing him of ruining her wedding by being broke, saying he should have paid for everything like a real dad. Then she escalated. According to Mike, she screamed, "You're a terrible father. Henry treated me better in 2 months than you did my whole life." Tom snapped. He shouted back, "I gave you everything. I paid for your college, your car, your rent, your sorority dues, your vacations, and you spit in my face." Ashley yelled that he deserved to be alone. Tom yelled that she was the most ungrateful child on earth. Then Ashley screamed, the worst thing she'd said yet. "You're nothing. Henry is better than you. I'm glad Mom left you." Mike said Tom just cracked, like something inside him finally broke. He pointed at the door and said, "Get out. If Henry is such a great father, go live with him." Ashley laughed and said Henry already refused. And that's when Tom said the words that rippled through the family like a bomb. "You are dead to me." Mike said Tom actually dragged her to the door, shoved her out, and locked it. When Ashley started pounding and screaming, neighbors called the cops. When the police arrived, Tom said, "My daughter is trespassing. I want her gone." The cops made Ashley leave. I sat with that for a second. Not joy, not pity, just the quiet disbelief that comes from 11 years of distance suddenly snapping tight around you like barbed wire. "What's she doing now?" I asked finally. "Couch surfing," Mike said. "She tried staying with your mom and Henry. Henry said absolutely not. Said what she did at the dinner was manipulative and cruel. Your mom offered to help her find a cheap place, but won't let her move in." "She'll be fine," I said. "No," Mike said quietly. "She won't. Not this time. And she blames you." "Of course she did." "She's telling everyone you poisoned Chris against her," Mike continued, "and poisoned Tom against her too. Says you're jealous and vindictive." I snorted. "She can say whatever she wants. I'm not involved." Mike sighed. "Your dad's a mess, Kara. He made his choices." "Yeah," Mike said softly. "But he's paying for them now." I didn't respond. What was there to say? That I felt vindicated? That I felt nothing? That I felt too much? Mike spoke again, hesitating. "He keeps saying he only has one kid now." My heart thudded once, hard. "He says he lost you because he was too busy spoiling her," Mike added. "Says he regrets everything." Regret. Funny word. It doesn't fix a damn thing. But it shows up anyway like it wants a medal. I didn't answer. I didn't owe anyone an answer. A month passed. Ashley drifted from couch to couch. Tom avoided everyone. Mom and Henry lived their best wine and hiking life in Facebook photos. I stayed in my lane. Work, Noah, normalcy. Then, one evening after a long shift, I pulled into my driveway and saw something on my front porch stoop. Someone. My father. He stood when I got out of the car and my stomach clenched. He looked terrible, worse than before, hollowed out, hair unkempt, clothes wrinkled, eyes red. "What are you doing here?" I said. "I need to talk to you," he said, voice thin. "Then talk." He glanced at Noah, who had just parked behind me and was stepping out of his car. "Can we go inside?" Tom asked. "No." The word cracked like a whip. Tom flinched. "You have 5 minutes," I said. "Say what you need to say." His hands trembled. "I'm being evicted," he said. "End of next week. I'm behind on bills. The divorce, the settlement, I have nothing left." I waited. "I need help," he said. "I need money, just enough for rent, maybe $1,800. I'll pay you back, I swear." "No," I said. "Kara, please." His voice broke. "I know I don't deserve to ask, but I have nowhere else to go. Mike won't help. Your mother won't help. Ashley." His face twisted. "Ashley is gone." "Tom," I said slowly, "I stopped being your daughter the day you handed me a trash bag." He flinched like I'd struck him. "You told me to figure it out," I said, "so figure it out." He began to cry. Real tears. Shoulder-shaking sobs. A 62-year-old man crumbling on my porch, begging the daughter he abandoned. "Please," he gasped. "I'm going to be living in my car." "Planet Fitness parking lots are nice," I said coldly. "I spent 2 weeks there." "I'm 62, he whispered, "and I was 18. Silence. Noah stood behind me, arms crossed, jaw tight, ready if Tom got out of line. Tom swallowed hard. "I'll do anything," he said desperately. "I'll sign anything. Please, Kara, please." Those words, "I'll sign anything," lodged in my mind like a splinter. For the first time since I was 18, I felt something other than anger or numbness. Not forgiveness, not pity. Just exhaustion. "I'll think about it," I said. He brightened immediately. Thank you, Kara. I promise I said I'll think about it," I repeated. "Now get off my porch." He left. Noah walked to me silently. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That I'm tired," I said. "Tired of carrying all of this. Maybe helping him once will finally let me put it down." Noah nodded, supportive, not pushing, just steady. I leaned into him and breathed for the first time all day. I didn't know it then, but this moment, this porch, this fragile shift in my chest would be the thing that changed the rest of my life. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft hum of our bedroom fan, Noah's steady breathing beside me, and the echo of my father's voice, broken, desperate, and so small it barely resembled the man who once told me I wasn't worthy of the same life he'd given Ashley. "I'll sign anything." It kept replaying over and over, like my brain had put it on a loop I couldn't escape. By morning, I'd made my decision. Not out of love, not out of obligation, not even out of pity. I was doing it because I was tired. Tired of carrying the weight of what he did. Tired of him being the ghost in every job promotion, every holiday, every quiet evening where the past whisper echoed at the edges. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want reconciliation. I wanted freedom. So I called my lawyer. His name was Richard Hale, a practical man with a trimmed beard and an office full of files that smelled faintly like old paper and stale coffee. He knew me from some contract work I'd needed years ago. Straightforward, discreet, no nonsense. "Kara," he said when he picked up, "what can I help you with?" "I need a loan agreement drafted," I said. "Okay, for how much?" $2,000, I said. "0 interest. Flexible repayment. No collateral. No collection actions." Richard paused. "Sounds generous. Who's the borrower?" "My father." Another pause, longer this time. "I see," he said gently. "Do you want standard protections?" "No," I said. "I want documentation. That's it." "Documentation for closure," I said flatly. He didn't ask more questions. That's why I liked him. "All right," he said. "I'll draft something simple. You want the terms to essentially say he pays back whenever he can, if he can?" "Exactly." "And if he doesn't?" I exhaled slowly. "Then he doesn't," I said. "This isn't really a loan, Richard. It's severance." He let out a low, thoughtful hum. "I'll email it to you by tomorrow." "Thank you." 3 days later, the agreement was ready. It was clean, simple, fair. 2 pages. No loopholes, no traps, no malicious clauses. 0% interest. Pay back whenever possible. Entirely optional. It was, objectively, a gift. The kind my father never gave me. I called him that afternoon. He answered on the first ring, breathless, like he'd been pacing near the phone for hours. Kara? I'll loan you the money, I said. A sound broke out of him, a mix between a sob and a gasp. Thank you, Kara, I promise. There's a contract, and I said. I'm sending it to you. Read it carefully. Sign and send it back. Once it's documented, I'll transfer the funds. Yes, of course. Anything you need. I'm not going to let you down. I didn't respond to that. I emailed the contract. It took him 10 minutes to send it back, digitally signed, shaky handwriting visible in the PDF. I forwarded it to Richard for archiving, then transferred the $2,000 directly to Tom's account. Kara, he said when I called him to confirm. The terms. You're not charging interest. No due date. No consequences. I don't understand. There's nothing to understand, I said. I'm done, Tom. With all of it. This is the last thing I'm ever doing for you. I'll pay you back, he said fiercely. Every dollar. Sure, I said. He didn't hear the truth under it. I didn't care if he paid me back. This wasn't about money. This was a receipt for my freedom. Weeks passed. Life moved. I didn't check on him. I didn't call. But through the family grapevine, Aunt Rachel, Uncle Mike, I heard little things. Tom was working handyman jobs now, fixing leaky faucets for old ladies, painting fences for $40, doing patchwork drywall in rentals. He was 62, living in a one-bedroom apartment in a rough part of town. He'd lost the house, lost his marriage, lost Ashley, lost his pride. He was starting from zero for the first time in his life. Meanwhile, I wasn't at zero anymore. 6 months after the loan, Noah and I got engaged. Small ring, simple moment. Noah kneeling in our living room while I stood in his old college sweatshirt, hair wet from a shower, completely unprepared. Yes, I'd whispered before he even finished asking. We planned a modest wedding for the spring. We didn't invite my parents, or Ashley, or anyone who had ever handed me a trash bag. But Uncle Mike came, Aunt Rachel came, my coworkers came. Noah's big, loud family came and embraced me like I'd always been one of them. During the reception, Noah's mom hugged me and whispered, "You're safe now, sweetheart." No one had said that to me since I was a child. Work flourished, too. I got promoted to lead technician. Better pay, better hours, and fewer emergency calls at midnight. The company sent me to Denmark for 2 weeks for advanced turbine training. Denmark. I'd never even flown business class before. Tom used to say I'd be lucky to keep a basic job. And there I was, sitting in a Scandinavian factory, learning new models, representing my company internationally. Funny how life works. A year into the marriage, Noah and I bought a house in Edmond. 3 bedrooms, a real yard, sunlight in the mornings, a kitchen big enough for both of us to stand in without bumping elbows. The kind of house I used to picture from my truck window. Year 2, we had our first child, a boy, named after Noah's grandfather. A man who actually deserved his name passed down. Tom sent a congratulations card. I threw it away. Ashley tried calling. Blocked her. Mom sent a handmade quilt with a note. I'm proud of you. I hope someday I can meet him. I almost threw that away too, but Noah stopped me. It's beautiful, he said quietly. Let the baby have it, even if you're not ready to deal with her. I let the quilt stay. Nothing more. Year 3, we had a daughter. Perfect, healthy, ours. Every milestone, every giggle, every soft exhale in the middle of the night carved deeper into me the life I'd built without the people who said I couldn't. Without Tom, without Ashley, without approval I never needed. I was done with them, completely, or so I thought. Then the text came, from Mom's number, but the sender was Henry. Your mother wants to invite you, Noah, and the kids to Colorado next month. We're renting a cabin in the mountains for 5 days. Lakes, trails, family time, no pressure. She misses you. She'd love to meet her grandchildren. Think about it. I stared at the screen for a long time. Tom? No. Bridge burned, cemented, sealed. Ashley? Absolutely not. But Mom was different. She wasn't innocent, but she wasn't cruel. She'd been weak, quiet, passive to the point of damage. She'd let Tom treat me like an afterthought. She'd closed a bedroom door while I begged. She'd watched me get exiled. But she hadn't wielded the knife herself. She'd just held the coat of the man who did. And now she was free, living a life that actually looked happy. I wanted to ignore the message, but then our daughter asked me last week, Mommy, why don't I have a grandma? And I didn't have an answer. Noah thinks I should go, that people can change, that my mother is not Tom or Ashley, that my kids deserve to know family if that family is trying. Maybe he's right. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe both. So here I am, internet, caught between the life I've built and the ghosts who want back into it. Do I protect my peace, or do I give my mother one chance, only her, no one else, to show she's changed? I don't know. I'm tired of carrying all of this. But I'm also tired of people thinking they can come back just because the consequences finally found them. What would you do? I stared at Henry's message for a long time. 5 days in a cabin, a lake, hiking trails. My mom smiling in photos, lighter, freer than I ever saw her in my childhood. No Tom, no Ashley, just Mom, and a family she'd finally chosen instead of endured. But I didn't reply. Not that day, not that week. Every morning I'd wake up, make the kids breakfast, step over toy blocks, kiss Noah goodbye, and then feel the weight of that unanswered text in my pocket like a stone. My daughter asked again, "Do I have a grandma?" And each time, my answer felt like a lie wrapped in a truth I wasn't ready to unpack. A few days after the text, Noah and I sat on our back porch after the kids were asleep. The air smelled like summer grass and the neighbor's barbecue. Fireflies blinked lazily over the yard. Noah was nursing a beer, his other hand resting on my knee. "You're somewhere else," he said softly. I didn't pretend otherwise. "Noah, what if this is a mistake?" I said. "What if she hasn't changed? What if she just wants to feel better about everything she didn't do for me?" He considered that. "What if she has changed?" he asked. "What if she wants to do better now?" "I don't want to forgive her," I admitted. "I'm not ready. I don't know if I ever will be." "You don't have to forgive her to meet her," Noah said gently. "You don't owe her forgiveness. But you might owe yourself closure." I leaned into him, resting my head on his shoulder. "Do you think she deserves a chance?" I asked. He didn't answer immediately. "I think your mom was trapped," he said finally, "for decades. And some people break trying to escape. Some people only find their strength when the world they built falls apart." "Is that an excuse?" I asked. "No," he said, "but it's context." A long silence stretched between us, comfortable but heavy. "What about the kids?" I whispered. Noah looked into the house through the sliding glass door. Our son sprawled asleep on the couch, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. Our daughter curled up above him, cheek pressed to her blanket. "They deserve family," he said, "but only if that family is safe." Safe. Not perfect, not healed, not redeemed. Just safe enough to show up now, even if they didn't show up then. I closed my eyes and saw my mother standing at the doorway, eyes lowered, hand frozen on the frame, while I knocked and said, "Mom, I'm leaving." She'd turned away, and she's been turning away ever since. The next morning, before work, I scrolled through Facebook, something I rarely did. I didn't have Mom as a friend, but Aunt Rachel posted enough for everyone. There she was, Mom, laughing at a winery, hiking along a ridge with Henry, wearing clothes that looked comfortable, not performative, her hair natural, her smile real. She didn't look like the timid woman who whispered apologies between Tom's shouting. She didn't look like the ghost who drifted through my childhood home with shoulders curved inward. She looked whole, a version of her I'd never been given. Seeing it stung. Because I wondered, why didn't she fight for me sooner? Why didn't she leave sooner? Why didn't she defend me even once? But under that ache was something else, a quieter, more dangerous thought. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she's only now becoming the woman she always should have been. I didn't respond to Henry's message for another week. Then one afternoon, after work, I stopped at a red light and watched a grandmother helping a toddler out of a car seat. The toddler ran straight into her arms. The woman laughed joyfully, kissing the child's head as they crossed the parking lot. Something in my throat tightened. My daughter deserved that. My son deserved that. I deserve that. Not the fantasy version I made up at 12 years old. Not the mother I wished existed. But this version, the woman who left, the woman who grew, the woman trying. I drove home, walked straight into the kitchen where Noah was chopping peppers for dinner, and said, I think I might go." He didn't smile triumphantly. He didn't say, "I told you so." He set down the knife, wiped his hands on a towel, walked over, cupped my face gently, and kissed my forehead. "Okay," he said, "we'll go together." I sat at the table, thumb hovering over the message. Henry had ended it with no pressure, so I gave no promises. I typed, "Tell her I'm willing to talk, that's all for now." Then deleted it. Typed again, "We'll come for 1 day, not 5, 1 day, to talk." Deleted it. Finally, I wrote, "We'll come, but just understand, this is fragile, and I won't tolerate anything that hurts my kids." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The reply came within a minute. "Thank you, Kara. She'll be overjoyed. Truly. No expectations, no pressure. We'll make it easy, whatever you need." I stared at the message, heart thudding. No expectations. That was the lie everyone told right before everything changed. I don't know what will happen at that cabin. Maybe I'll see my mother and feel nothing. Maybe I'll see her, and the 18-year-old inside me will crumble. Maybe she'll cry. Maybe I will. Maybe we'll rebuild something small and quiet and new. Maybe it will break me all over again. All I know is this: some ghosts don't stay buried. Some stories don't end just because you stop telling them. And some wounds don't close until you press your finger directly into the scar. The cabin is 2 weeks away. I've packed nothing, prepared nothing, expected nothing. But I'm going. Not for her. For me. For the girl with the trash bag. For the woman I've become. For the children who deserve a family that doesn't hurt them. Maybe this is the